Hello, hello. Let's get myself situated here. Alright, let's see. I've got to get myself logged in here. Excuse me. Always happens. Let's view the channel. Alright, and this is the live one. Here we go. Welcome, welcome. So, I'll put this over here so I can see it. Alright, let's see where we're at before I get started here. Continuing on with my train painting here. It's funny, I've noticed a couple of things. I thought that I was 100% finished with the black and the windows back here, but I'm seeing additional stuff that I'd forgotten about, completely forgotten about. It had been a long time since I worked on this painting, and I didn't finish what I thought I finished, but that's totally fine. We're going to work it out. As far as today is concerned, I'm going to focus. I'm still focusing, I think, down here. Now, today I'm struggling a little bit, as I always do. The one thing that's really missing from the area behind these metal posts here is there is a what do you call it? A chain link fence just behind this pipe that runs across here. And you can see it throughout. I'm looking at the picture to my right here. You can see it a little bit. So in my picture, you can see that chain link pretty much the length. It's very, very dark in some areas. It is almost invisible in some areas. And certainly I assume that it goes all the way up from the ground to above where we can see back there. And I kind of want to do that before. At the same time, I don't think I'm prepared to do it today. So I'm gonna hold off a little bit. I'm gonna focus on these slats for now, and let's just go from there. So, if you're just joining, welcome. My name's Jason. I'm an artist, and I'm working on a painting here. So that's pretty much what I'm going to keep doing. I've got some old paints here on my my canvas, not my canvas, my palette here, and I think I need to refresh a couple of colors, especially if especially yellow ochre. I've got a large thing of yellow ochre because I use it quite a bit. These are Winsor Newton colors that I generally exclusively use. I don't know why, other than it's what I used when I was in college. That was a long time ago. I have considered recently if there might be a reason to switch. I'm sorry about this this piece here. There's my photograph is hanging right there. So what else? So if we're looking at my painting here, so it's mostly like this. It's a very close to yellow ochre color, but I see a little bit of some other colors possibly in there. I just want to make sure that I've got everything. I think I want a little more. These colors here, like I said, are a little bit dry, some of them anyways. I think I want pretty much the colors I've been using. Burnt sienna. I don't know how much of that I want. I'll put more out if I need it. The idea is, excuse me for clearing my throat constantly. The idea is that this is burnt umber. You put out only a small amount of what you need at first. And then if you find that you need a lot more, you put more on your palette. This is raw umber. I'm just going to put them next to the ones. Those browns, for some reason, brown seems to dry up quickly. Let me see if this one dried up or is that still wet? That's still wet. That's raw sienna there. So I've got yellow ochre, raw sienna, burnt umber, raw umber, and also hidden a little bit behind my photograph, I've got some cadmium red, cadmium yellow, and some titanium white and ivory black. I think these are still okay. And I've got enough space on my... So sorry about my... I just finished eating before I come on. And because I do this at lunch on Fridays. So I eat right before this and then I come on and I always feel like I've got something stuck in my throat. Maybe I should eat at a different time. I don't know. Should eat after I do this, right? All right, so let's look at our colors here. So let me mix some basic colors. If I'm looking at my photograph, I'm going to put this over here. I've got some space and I see a little bit of redness in there, so I'm going to add some burnt sienna and ever use paints right out of the tube. I know there are artists that do that. It's fine. It's up to them, their call. But life is a little bit different than that. See, that's too orangey. It's too orangey. I need to tone it down a bit. I'm going to do that with some raw umber. Try some raw umber. When I'm mixing paints, I'm really experimenting. I don't know. You know, people ask artists all the time, how'd you do that? A lot of times I don't know. It's intuition. It's experience. It's you know, doing things over and over again until you figure it out. I want to add some white to that, I think. Let's try that. Still a little too orange. It's gotten a little duller, but it was not right yet. So you just, a little at a time, one color at a time. Just figure it out little by little. Alright, still not happy with that. Boy, I'm not happy with that at all. See, this is what I'm saying, that I don't always know what the heck I'm doing. That color was closer before, and as soon as I added the white, it got pretty far off, I think. All right, I'm gonna scrap this over here. Not scrap it, but I'm gonna save that over there. Let's put it that way. Let me grab my towel. Wipe this off. All right. Let's try again. So you don't always get it right the first time. I'm pretty good at mixing colors. Now before I go, let's just look at that real quick. Now, let's see if you can see. I can get this in, maybe. Let me get the camera looking here so you can see it a little bit better. That over slightly. I know this is kind of rocking back and forth. Sorry. But here's the color we're looking at here. So this is the color, but you see, that's not right. Wish I could. Anyways, I don't want to waste time. That's not right. So We need to get it right. I'm going to start, instead of starting with the brown, I'm going to start with white. Let's add a little white to that. Maybe it was the burnt sienna that was getting me off a little bit there. No, that's still, maybe I need to start with burnt sienna. That's not right at all. I feel like I'm starting with the wrong color. So I'm going to move this over to here. I'll just make a pile of that. Maybe I'll need it later. Let's start with, I don't think that's right either. I'm going to, jeez. Where did I go wrong? All right, we're going to start with that. We're going to add some white to it. Start with that. Add some white to it. Let's see where it goes. Now, this is totally wrong. But, like I said, I see some red in there. All right, totally wrong. But the other one was totally wrong, too. So, maybe I don't need the brown. Maybe I just need red and yellow with white. Because that's not right either. I don't like that either. Sometimes, get it over there. Try again. All right. We're going to try something a little different. We're going to take white. We're going to add some yellow to it. Good amount of yellow. We're going to add a little bit of red to it. Just a little bit of red because red goes a long, long way. Let's start with that. All right. Definitely not there, but let's see what happens. Let's add a little yellow ochre because I still feel like there's yellow ochre in that, but just a little bit. Where that brings us. It's kind of like a skin tone there. I like it. It's just not dark enough, I think. Let's go ahead and add a bunch of white. I'm scared to do it because I already tried this route, but I didn't try it with the red and the yellow. Cadmium red, cadmium yellow. Alright, that's looking better, I think. Let's take a look at that. That's looking better. It's still too light. I might add a bunch more. I think the cadmium red and the cadmium yellow is kind of where I wanted to go on that. Let's add a little more yellow ochre to the palette. Just realizing I didn't put my smock on today. But that's okay. I don't have to wear it every day. My choice, right? All right, let's try this a little bit more. It's getting closer. Out. All right, that's getting closer, but I'm starting to get away from that color a little bit. So I'm going to add a little more red. This red is starting to dry up, which is unusual because that red never dries up. my goal is not to waste paint, right? Paint is expensive. Sometimes you end up wasting paint. You have to be okay with a little bit of that. I'm getting close. I need to get it darker. I don't really want to add black. At least I don't think I want to add black. So let me put this up a little bit higher. See if I can do that quickly. Maybe we'll see what I'm talking about here. All right, there we go. So you can see I'm too light, right? That is not the right color. It's getting close. Maybe for the there's some little highlights on some of the edges, but that is too bright. So the question is, what colors do I use to darken it up? I'm gonna save some of this here. I want to keep some of that brighter color, I think. So I'm gonna work on half of it here. I'm hesitant to add yellow ochre, even though at first glance it looks like yellow ochre to me. Maybe it's yellow ochre with red is the key. So let me add a bunch of yellow ochre. I'm scared to do this, but well, make a decision, move forward, right? Maybe it wasn't cadmium yellow at all. Maybe it was cadmium red that I needed. Yeah, and let's add a little bit of red to that, a little more red. That's a lot of red, I think, but let's see. A lot of mixing going on today. Sorry. Sometimes you gotta mix colors, man. All right, now we are getting somewhere. That is super duper close, right? So I'm actually really liking it. I think it's a hair bright. I think I'm going to take this and I'm going to add a hint of burnt umber to try and darken it a little bit. But I want to be careful not to add too much. But now that I know that it's yellow ochre and cadmium red, I can remix this pretty quickly if I have to. Oh. So a little closer. I might actually add a touch of black to it. I need to really dull it down, and I'm just not getting that. And darken it slightly, right? Got to be very careful with black. You don't want to paint. Black and white are like, I don't know. They're like the last things to add for sometimes. I don't know why. All right, now I'm getting really, really close. What do I do? What do I do? I think I'm going to add a touch more black. A touch more black. I think I was right. It's starting to look a little muddy, but I think that's where I want to be. I think that's all the black I will add to it. From here I'll add just more, yeah, that's really close too. I'm going to add a little bit more of the yellow ochre, touch more of the red, and let's see, I think that will probably, if it doesn't do it, I might call it anyways, because I've been mixing now for, well, a few minutes. Jeez. It takes too long to do it. It takes too long. Am I getting away from it? Touch of white. Touch of white. I think I'm going to stop there. It's super close. Nobody's gonna know if I'm off a little bit. You know, there's certain colors you need to be really spot on. This isn't one of them. I can make a best guess, you know, and go on from there. All right, let me clean that off. All right, let's get to painting, finally. So I'll use those two colors there for the most part, you know, but I've got some different shades. I'll focus on the front of these for right now, and then I'll paint in the sides after, probably. Let's just focus on getting some paint on there. Let's just do that. Let me fix this camera back to where it was so you can see where I'm at. There we go. So we clean off our brush. I always have a little bit of soap in my brush after I clean them, so I always make sure before I start clean it off, and then always get a little bit of linseed oil in there, right? Because linseed oil helps the paint spread evenly. Move this out of my way. There we go. All right, let's get started here. So, and I gotta turn this a little bit so I can see it. What was that? I don't know. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and paint this. It's gonna be hard to see, to be honest with you, because I'm just painting on top of stuff that I already painted, and the color in the stuff that I already painted isn't perfect, but it's really close, you know. I'll be going over this again later on. I need more linseed oil in that. You never want to put too much linseed oil. You know, you're not trying to, I mean, I'll take that back. There are times you want a lot of linseed oil. However, too much linseed oil will make your, you know how oil sits on top of water? Well, oil also kind of sits on top of oil. So what I mean by that is that if you have too much oil in your brush, you're going to end up with spots where the oil just doesn't want to stick. So if that happens, it just means you've got too much oil in your paint and you need to add more paint. I'm trying to move quickly, I'm trying to be careful. Part of me says I'm moving too quickly. Maybe I'll use my trusty maul stick here. It always steadies my hand a little bit. So, reason why I paint so many layers sometimes, well, all the time almost, is that I'm trying to build some luminance, and I'm also trying to create a sense of depth. And by painting background to foreground, I've got to get this painting, I'd like to get this painting closer to me. This photograph, I mean. Let's see. I can't really see what I'm looking at here. So I changed my glasses so I could see up close a little bit better. But I can't see the painting. I don't know. Maybe I should wear my glasses down. Do the whole old man business, right? 'Cause maybe that'll help. Yeah, I could do that probably. Let's try it. There's a reason why people wear their glasses like this, right? You can kind of go back and forth quickly. So, when I said that I paint to create a sense of depth, what I mean by that is if you work sort of background to foreground, right? What ends up happening is one layer of paint will be on top of another layer of paint. So that's a good thing for creating depth, because, and I see this all the time, I don't quite understand it, where people will paint the subject, the foreground first, and then they'll paint the background next to it, you know? That's hard, you know? What if you slip? What if you create these? A lot of times you can create like a halo effect by that. And what I mean is, like, you'll have say an object like the window here, and whatever I paint around it won't look like it's all the way up to the window. It'll look like there's a haze around some of the paint. So that's a very common thing with people who paint foregrounds first. So nobody's online with me today. I mean, if they are, they're not saying much. That's okay. This is not a required to talk to me session, of course. I will do the talking in that case. One of the things that scares me about using a maul stick is slipping. Mostly because I've slipped many times. Like that. That is not a good one. That is, well, it's not a bad one, but it's not a good one either. I can fix it though. Part of the fun of painting is fixing. Being sarcastic, of course. Fixing can be tricky. Tricky. So all I have on this is some turpentine right now. And I just kind of paint backwards. Dry it off. keep doing it. Paint backwards. Right. I find that in a lot of my painting I tend to rush. I don't want to rush. I don't mean to rush. It's just that I know how much time I've got and I'm trying to get things done. Oops. Quickly. I've got several paintings waiting to get done. So at this point, I've taken off pretty much what I can, and I need to use a rag to kind of get off that turpentine off my painting. That's it. So mistakes happen. Be confident that you can fix them. Right? All right, I think that'll do. Put that back out of the way. Get back to my oil and my paint. All right, and now let's be careful. That is a novel idea. This mall stick is gonna make me mad. All right, I think I'm redeemed with that one. Let's keep going. All right. So if you're watching, welcome. My name's Jason. And I've been painting this painting for quite some time. I started it well before, I probably started this painting 2 years ago or so. I did not intend to put it aside for so long, but I did. I think I was nervous about it, and which is, for me anyways, a fairly common issue with my paintings. It's okay to be nervous, and I'm learning how not to be paralyzed. So here, this line here is actually a pipe that is in front of these things. So I'm going to paint that pipe later. I'm not going to worry about that pipe right now. I'm just going to worry about these guys. I was almost about to paint that the same color, and I'm like, nope, that's not what it is. Now, one thing that I did with with this that you might consider a mistake, I'm not sure if it's really a mistake or not. I'm looking at this color though. All right, I'm going to add a little more red to this. Afraid of putting too much in there, but we'll see. One thing I like to do, so I put a lot of red here, but I don't have to mix all that in. I could just kind of gradually mix it over, you know, and see what I like. Let's see how that looks. I think that looks okay. I'm going to add a touch of brown to it too. A little burnt umber, just a touch. I think that's better. All right, let's see what that looks like on here. Yeah, maybe that's all right. I feel like I say things and then I forget what I was talking about all the time. Seeing a little bit of a kind of reddish hue up here. Everything is not always equal all the way across, right? So you can have some more yellowy colors, more reddish colors in here. And I'll be putting another layer of like the grittiness, if you will, of some of these things. That one's going to get pretty much hidden. That one I think is fine. Alright, continuing on. Another part of the point of going like background to foreground here, and I'm doing it with these bars here, is that I am trying to hold on that. I'm trying to straighten things out. So where I see problems, where I see things aren't straight, or you know, it looks looks messy. I'm trying to sort out past problems. So right here, it kind of bubbles up a little bit there, and part of that is because there's a ridge, this tiny little ridge of paint that's preventing my brush from going down. It's important in some cases anyways to keep your paint flat as possible, right? The flatter you can keep your paint, the less problems you will have with spreading the paint where you want it to go. If you've got ridges all over the place because you've left a big bubble of paint, you're going to have to figure out how to paint on top of that big bubble of paint, right? And already I can tell these are taking me way too long. But I think the more I do them, the faster I'll get. This has been a painting of a lot of straight lines. This will absolutely be the only time, I believe, I do a train tracks or anything related to trains. It's quite possible. First and last time. I mean, part of painting is the challenge, for me anyways, you know, like I like to solve problems and figure out how to manage different situations, right? At the same time, I don't want to work on a painting for years. Working on a painting for years, I've done it. I've been there. It is hard to sit at the same painting for a long time. So if that painting is hard and you're finding it hard to even sit there, well, you're asking for trouble. Apparently I ask for trouble often. Because I keep doing it to myself. Keep doing it. That's okay. I'm not going to paint down there because it's so dark underneath that. Vertical lines are easier. Just kind of pull. Little spot right there. There we go. Quiet day in the YouTube verse. Not a fan of quiet days. But I don't really know how to get more interest. I keep saying I'm not interested. I don't care about people having interest in my page. And quite honestly, I'm not here to be an influencer or anything like that. I'm here because I need to paint. And so far, this has been a very positive outlet for me to motivate me. I was coming online almost every day when I first got my cameras. I think that's even harder to keep a decent following with. Maybe. I don't know. That one seems thicker than that one. They all seem a little thicker than that one. I don't know. But I do know I'm going to make it just a little bit wider. That looks better to me. Yep. Um, but I did more than nothing. And that matters to me. Yeesh. angle. See, angles and horizontals, they are much more difficult. I think I need to go that way. Goodness. I can't see. I'm not doing it straight like that. The trick is to find the right way. You know what? I wasn't gonna do this, but I am now. I'm gonna do something a little different. Let's see, can you still see the painting? Can you still see what I'm painting? I think you can. Let's see. What can you see here? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. All right, that's where I'm painting right there. So instead of painting horizontal, I'll paint vertical. It wasn't working the way I was doing it, so I'll do it this way. It's still at an angle, but I couldn't see. I know it's just a straight line. So sometimes you got to change the angle that you're painting at. It's harder to turn a painting around than it is a drawing. A drawing you often, at least I often do, change the angle of what I'm drawing depending on what it is I'm trying to accomplish, right? All right, that's a little better. Let me try to fix some of that. I might try to fix it with a little touch of black. So I'm going to grab a little bit of black. Sorry, my head's in the way. And I'm going to put it down here. And I'm going to put just a hint of yellow ochre into it with a little bit of oil. Now what I can do is kind of cut back into it a little bit. Here's an important thing. I don't need to be perfect, right? But I do need other people to look at it and say, wow, you know, I need them to kind of understand the level of difficulty of this. All right, let me step back for a second. And let me get some glasses that I can see. And turn this back sideways so I can see it better. Move that out of the way a little bit. Where did I put my other glasses? There they are. So, always step back, always take a look, see where you're at. I think that's fine. It's a little wavy here and there. Could be worse. Sometimes what I like to do too, this is all dry on the top here, so I'm not too worried about all that. Turn it upside down. I love turning a painting upside down because I can see where I've put in the work. So looking at this, those rails there look really, really good. You know, that's really, I feel like that's actually really starting to come together. You know, the background especially is starting to pop a little bit. It's got some depth there. I wasn't too sure about that pipe in the background, but it looks better when I turn it upside down, so I think that is a solid try on that. These bars that I just painted here on this side look fine. They don't look too wobbly as they did when I had it the other way around, which is good. So now I just have to paint those. I'll do that later tonight, I think, because I gotta go back to work now. Break time's over. So I don't know if anybody's here or not. As I said, I'm here Friday afternoon, Eastern USA time. You're welcome to join me on those days. I paint throughout the week, but I go online on Fridays. So if you can join me, please do. Spread the word. I'd love to have more people come by. I'd love to have people come and chat with me, ask questions. Feel free. I'm open to any conversation about pretty much anything. So feel free to come by and say hi. With that, I'm going to let you go for today, and I'm going to say thank you so much for joining me, and happy painting. Bye.